Well, hi everyone. This is another video in our current series that we're doing, looking at the whole subject of mental illness and also mental health, and how we as a church family can become more aware of these things, but also how we as a church can grow as a supporting community for people who are facing mental health challenges. And so we put these little videos together really just to give you almost like the inside story of what it looks like to walk through a season of mental illness, either yourself or with somebody who you love. And so today it's really my privilege to be able to introduce and welcome my good friends, Adrian and Anne-Marie.
Hello.
These guys are just amazing. They were part of our discipleship group last term, and as you will hear on the video, both Adrian and Anne-Marie have that wonderful kind of Brummy accent, which makes me feel so very much at home, because my mum's side of the family are all from Birmingham, and it's kind of like this warm, gooey feeling on the inside when I hear them talk. It's like the world is right when you're around Brummies. And
they make you feel gooey.
But seriously, guys, thank you for taking the time to record this video. We're going to be talking about some obviously personal and challenging things, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of the church family for the way that you're taking this time. And so maybe first of all, Adrian, you could just share a little bit with us, maybe share briefly with us a bit of your story and how you have faced some mental health challenges over the years.
Yeah, in 2001, start of 2002, I was attacked by a gang of men. They left me for dead. I spent time in hospital, obviously recovering from the physical injuries. But then I had a breakdown mentally, which ended with me being sectioned into a psychiatric hospital. It's the breakdown opened up the memories of my abusive childhood, and I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which has had a real impact on my life. But it's something that I'm getting more and more used to living with. I was having some what they call EMDR therapy treatment before lockdown started, and that has now been cancelled because it's a face-to-face therapy.
Sure. Adrian, when people hear the word or the acronym PTSD, I guess many people would think of soldiers returning from conflict zones. That's often where it's heard, particularly in the press. And so maybe you'd be willing just to share with us, what's it like, Adrian, in your skin, in your shoes, maybe on a day when it's really having quite a profound effect upon you. What's it like? How do you feel? How does it affect you?
Yeah, on bad days, just someone banging a door, a neighbour going in or out the house, banging a door, can startle me, and I would then instantly get flashbacks. Memories will come into my mind, and you are seeing the event over and over again, which it's quite worrying at times because it does overwhelm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very hard. It causes panic attacks, and you do become very insular, and you go into protective mode. My PTSD at night, I have a lot of night terrors, to the point now where myself and Anne-Marie can't sleep in the same bed anymore because I have to think about Anne-Marie getting her sleep.
Yeah.
I sleep perhaps 2-3 hours a day, the rest of the night, when I do fall asleep for a little time, I do get a lot of flashbacks, a lot of nightmares, and I wake up and my bed will be a complete mess because I've been fighting in my sleep. And
Yeah.
then, of course, during the day, you're drained because of the lack of sleep, and you have to push yourself to go out and get out and about. But the slightest thing can set you off, memories and bring things back. There's even smells sometimes which will
Yeah.
I can resonate with, and they will bring back memories of, oh, that happened to me in the kitchen when I was a child. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's very hard on the bad days. It is very hard, but I get through it through the strength I get from God,
Yeah.
and I give everything to God each morning. I thank God for a new day. I thank God for life. I thank God for all the gifts, all the blessings. I thank God for the blood He shed for me,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful for that, and that gives me strength. And Marie, she is a pillar to me, and she's living with this as well.
Yeah.
But again, we give everything to the Lord, and that strengthens us.
Which nicely leads to you, Anne Marie. Obviously, part of the purpose of these videos is to talk about, what does life look like with mental health challenges, and I guess, even just in that little snippet from Adrian, it shows that it can have a big or a profound impact on the people around us. And so, Anne-Marie, it would just be really wonderful if you could just share with the church, what's it like for you, looking to support and stand with Adrian in this season of life.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I find it actually a blessing being with Adrian, because this has been such a learning curve, not just for me, but for Adrian as well. In that, even though we've lived with it for so long, this current season has been the time where we've learned about it in detail together. So even though COVID has prevented us both accessing support, um, we've actually learned to lean in to the Lord a lot more and gain our strength and comfort from Him. But as far as day to day with Adrian, on a bad day, it means that my underlying focus is not what I'm involved in. My mind is constantly fixed on Adrian.
Yeah.
On this, in that time, his ultimate protector. I have to plan on when it's really bad, simple tasks, because his self-help goes out the window. His desire to engage and get involved in the day disappears. He has little or very low motivation.
Yeah.
Um, that encompasses things we take for granted, like normal routine, as getting up out of bed, showering, eating well, actually motivated to get up and do a small walk,
Yeah.
engaging with people, keeping appointments, just things that we would rudimentarily do without even thinking in a day-to-day existence. But when Adrian is really bad in his episodes, his own focus is self-protection, like he said, and that involves, in a way, shutting himself away from the world
Yeah.
and not wanting to participate. And his only sole focus and feeling safe involves me being with him. I enable him, I encourage him. Even if I'm at work, my mind is still focused on him.
Yeah.
So in a way, as time's gone on, even though his health has escalated and got more complex, at times I've felt like I've disappeared
Mm.
because I have to be so focused to enable Adrian to get through things. Um, but at the same token, as much as in the early times it was really hard and frightening, I wouldn't have it any other way. because I love this guy.
That's Anne-Marie, that's beautiful. I think, I guess I just want to say thank you guys for, you know, opening the door and letting us have a little window into life, because, you know, this, I think what we're trying to do through these interviews is to take big words that are often in newspapers and to try and earth them and to try and, you know, show them what they look like in real life. And I think you guys have just done that so superbly. Let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
One of the joys and one of the challenges of church life is that there's this little phrase in the Bible where it says, you know, we rejoice with those who rejoice and we weep with those who weep. And, you know, it's often these things happen together. And so, like, how can the church family best support people who are facing mental health challenges? So that might be the person themselves, or Anne-Marie, like yourself, somebody who's trying to support somebody with mental health. How can the church family come around you, you know, either you guys or somebody else in similar shoes, and best support you?
I think it's just a simple acts of kindness, a telephone call, a text message, perhaps meeting someone and taking them for a coffee and a cake.
Has to be a cake, doesn't it? There definitely has to be a cake.
It's just those simple things can make such a huge difference. You know, sometimes people are afraid to approach someone who's going through mental health issues for fear of anger being aimed back at them for asking the questions. But, you know, from my lived experience now of 18 years of this, I've found more and more that the people who are suffering, they are more than open and willing to talk to you and to have someone actually be there for them. Because that's one of the biggest issues. You feel like no one's there for you. You know, I mean, my family are ashamed of me, so we have no contact because they can't get over the fact that they've got a son who's, you know, got mental health issues, or a brother who's got mental health issues. But I found in the church, especially Kingsgate, everyone has just been so overwhelmingly great, wonderful. You know, the outpouring of love and support that we've had, it's fantastic. So all I would say is to people, talk to people, you know, have a listen to them now and again if they want, you know, to offload, and just knowing someone's there and someone's there for you, it's a blessing. It really is. It's such a blessing.
Anne-Marie, let me just change the question slightly, because I'm pretty sure that there'll be a number of people that will be watching this video that will say, but Adam, I don't know what to say and what not to say, and I'm worried that I'm going to say the wrong thing, and because of that, almost I feel like I've got this paralysis and I don't know what to say, and so I end up saying nothing. And so, Anne-Marie, imagine that I'm that person and I'm talking to you. What would you say to me?
First and foremost, I'd have to say, don't be fearful of the unknown. Sometimes when we're faced with situations like this, it's about being open to ask questions. First and foremost, keep your heart open, and having the church family as friends and a structured support. It's great if you're the one giving the care, because you know that you're supported inadvertently. You feel and you're aware that the church family are praying for you. So if you're in that situation, struggling, or you're new to it, I'd say first and foremost, don't be frightened to ask questions.
Yeah.
In a way, educate yourself. I had to educate myself about what Adrian has been diagnosed with, having lived with it for a long time, but without the actual label. When you're armed with new information, knowledge empowers you.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I did feel like things were just spiraling out of my control. But as time's gone on, it's been amazing having Jesus first and foremost in it with us. He's given us, well, me, this unbelievable capacity to love Adrian even more.
Yeah.
Not that I thought that was physically possible, but it's this time, even though we've gone through this with COVID, and the minute we found out that all these groups were,
Yeah.
you know, ground to a halt, I was left panicking, thinking, okay, how is he really going to deal with it? How am I actually going to be able to physically cope with him? Potentially having all these panic attacks, fearing the outside, not wanting to go outside. And I was fearful of the potential in my own mind, scaring myself that we could be living in a pressure cooker,
Yeah.
waiting for all emotions to escalate and explode. But God's been amazing, truly amazing in all this, in that, you know, just giving everything to him in prayer. I speak to him like I'm speaking to you. I don't sometimes have days where I'm praying physically. I'm just talking to him like he's stood next to me.
Yeah.
He's become my real best friend in all this. And I couldn't have asked for anything better. And so I just say to people, just in a way, grab it by the horns. Don't let it swallow you up. In that sometimes mental health labels, they can be frightening because ultimately you think, okay, how am I actually going to get through it? But
Yeah.
when you actually invest time for yourself, it's a form of self-care.
Yeah.
Give yourself knowledge about what you've been given. It's not the end, because God
Yeah.
has the final say.
That's so helpful, Anne-Marie. Let me ask you one final question. If I want you to imagine that we are at the King Centre, everyone's back together. It's a Sunday morning, and you guys are sat on a sofa at the front with me, and we're doing this interview at the front, and you've got a microphone, and maybe feeling a little bit nervous, looking out at everyone's faces, and there's somebody who sat there who is just struggling. They're kind of tipping into a crisis, but they've not told anyone. A mental health crisis. They're tipping into a mental health crisis, and they've not told anyone. They've just kind of kept it to themselves. What would you say to them?
Firstly, I would say give everything to God. God is ultimately our healer, our protector. Give everything to God. Just be open. God already knows what's going on in our heads, in our hearts, in our minds. So give it all to God, and then don't be afraid to speak to people, to be open with people. You know, I mean, I learned that the more I was willing to speak to people and open up to people, the easier it made me feel as well. It's like you get like a sense of release.
Yeah.
So I would say to people, don't be afraid. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a mental health problem, and you will find 9 times out of 10 that people are more than willing to listen, to help, to support. You know, and together we are stronger. You know, as the Bible says, where two or more are gathered in prayer. You know, the more people you can have helping you, supporting you, praying for you, that's the best thing you could do. Just don't be afraid and don't be ashamed. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, I forgot what the statistics are now, but they're saying there's possibly going to be a spike
Sure.
in mental health cases because of lockdown and being at home and lack of, you know, people losing their jobs. But don't be afraid. You know, you have friends, you have family who will walk with you and walk through things with you.
Yeah.
So just be open, honest, and embrace the friendship, embrace the relationships you have with friends in church and family in church.
Thanks, Adrian. I mean, I again just want to underscore what Adrian's just said there. When I was seeing the GP on a regular basis after hitting the buffers with burnout, You know, one of the things we spoke a lot about with the GP was just the importance of having support networks around you, friends, family, people that you can talk to, people that you're able to share how you're doing. There's nothing, like Adrian said, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And actually, one of the ways that God often answers our prayers is by providing people around us. And so I guess I just want to encourage you, please do listen to Adrian, listen to Anne-Marie. They are a huge blessing to us as a church in the way that they've just, you know, they've opened their hearts and they've shared something very vulnerable with us as a church. And friends, I want to encourage you to listen to them. This is a testimony from the midst of the furnace. It's not a testimony from, you know, 50 years ago.
Something at the end of what
Go for it, Anne-Marie.
In the first thing I learned through walking this out and praying about it with the Lord is that human nature, that when things are spiraling or close to spiraling out of our control, you can start to resent the very thing that can help us grow. And the worst thing we can do for ourselves is to harbour that resentment and not acknowledge it. And if there's one thing I've learned at this time with Adrian, with God in the thick of it with us, is that I start my day in prayer.
Yeah.
And any negative thoughts during the course of the day, I will keep like a little food diary, just write things down. So I'm not holding on to them. They're not festering and they're not growing and escalating during the course of the day. But it's very black and white. And God's grace is fantastic, because by the time I've got through the day and come back to it and I pray at night, the revelation is that it was just for a brief second.
Yeah.
And the worst thing we can do is let resentment fester and take hold of us, because that can be the worst thing. That is the route then for us to kind of keep Jesus at arm's length when he is our answer.
Guys, we could continue this interview for the next 2 hours. There's just little pithy sayings like that feel like gold, because they're not just good ideas, they're things that have been formed in the midst of this. And so Adrian and Anne-Marie, I just want to say thank you for opening your hearts to the church family, and thank you for just being honest and sharing this with us. You've strengthened the church through this, so God bless you and thank you so much.